Good morning. It's Wednesday, August 26, 2015. This is your morning edition on I-24 News. Coming up later today, Putin, the Russian president, hosts Middle East leaders as Russia puts on a display of its military might at the MAX International Airshow. Israel releases 1,200 migrants from the Hulot detention center, but then bans them from entering their main hubs of Tel Aviv and Eilat. And later on in the show, the Ramat Gan safari here in Israel welcomes its newest member, a baby white rhino. And we will be there, of course, to join in on the fun. Good morning. I'm Yael Wisner-Levy. We begin now in Moscow, where Middle East leaders are converging to attend the MAX International Airshow, a biennial exhibition meant to boost aviation industry sales and present Russia's military might to the world. As the world's second largest arms exporter, Russia has been doing brisk defense business in the recent weeks. Russian media reports that Saudi Arabia is interested in buying the Russian-made Iskander-E missile system, a guided missile capable of carrying nuclear warheads, while an Iranian delegation is on hand to finalize the negotiations for Tehran's purchase of the S-300 air defense systems. Meanwhile, while Russia's involvement helped secure the nuclear deal between the P5+1 and Iran, Moscow's backing of the Syrian president Bashar Assad in the ongoing civil war, as well as Russia's own actions in Crimea and Ukraine, have positioned it in stark contrast to the West, with many, including the Israeli prime minister, predicting a regional arms race in the wake of the Iranian deal. Military displays like the air show offer Russia the opportunity to expand the market for its military technology and deepen its influence. To help us see the Middle East through Putin's eyes, we're joined in studio by I-24, by Reshet Bet radio correspondent for Arab Affairs, Eran Zinger. Good morning, Eran.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at the following report by I-24 News journalist Shai Ben-Ari, and then we'll discuss.
A Russian power play. Vladimir Putin opened the MAX International Airshow on the outskirts of Moscow Tuesday, with a host of Middle Eastern leaders in attendance.
Russia is open for fruitful business cooperation in aerospace industry. We will extend the unique space potential of our country to strengthen our leading position in the production of military aviation equipment.
Russia is becoming increasingly popular in the Mideast these days, but not only because of its aerospace industries. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is among the guests. Following a major arms deal signed last year with Putin, the Egyptian leader now wants a Russian-built nuclear power plant. So too does King Abdullah of Jordan, who is also at the airshow. Traditional American client states are now looking for new sponsors as the withdrawal of U.S. influence from the Middle East becomes more apparent. But Russia's traditional partners are also still around. Iranian officials are in Moscow this week as well, where they hope to seal a date for the first delivery of the S-300 missile defense system, despite Western concerns. One of the main issues on the agenda for all these delegations is Syria. Representatives of the Syrian opposition are also in Moscow, though the Assad regime still benefits from Russian support. Indeed, Syria is one case where the Russians are playing more than one side of the game. A report in an independent Russian newspaper, the Novaya Gazeta, states that the FSB, Russia's Federal Security Service and the successor agency to the KGB, has supported and facilitated the flow of jihadist fighters from Russia's Dagestan Republic to Syria to join up with the Islamic State and other jihadist organizations. Doku Umarov was a self-styled emir of the Caucasus Emirate and pledged allegiance to IS before being killed by Russian forces in September 2013.
Among us, there are hundreds of brothers who will be ready to sacrifice themselves for the sake of enforcing the word of Allah and to avenge the enemies of Allah.
The report says that in recent years, the FSB arranged for some of the most militant terrorists in the Caucasus region to receive passports, which allowed them to leave freely for Syria via Turkey. One estimate put the total amount at between 2,000 and 3,000. Indeed, some of the leading IS terrorists have Chechen origins, like Abu Omar al-Shishani, formerly known as Tarkan Batrashvili. He is the IS field commander in northern Syria. While this undercover activity undermines the Assad regime in Syria, it appears Russian authorities prefer to export their homegrown jihadists to become someone else's problem. In any case, all authorities agree that since the Syrian civil war began, terrorist incidents as well as clashes with Muslim insurgents have gone down by roughly 50% in Russian territory. It appears this game of Russian roulette has paid off so far.
We're going now to Moscow, where the AFP correspondent Gabrielle Titro-Farber is joining us via Skype. Gabrielle, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the air show? Of course, you see just the numbers, 700 Russian companies, and this is all, of course, on the backdrop of Western sanctions because of Ukraine, lowering oil prices. So this is really a show from the Western point of view of strength from Russia.
It kicked off yesterday. There were many foreign guests, many foreign companies, Russian companies as well. But what's a little bit disappointing about this forum, for Russia, it's really played up as being a huge thing. But the only international contracts have been really tiny at this point. There haven't been huge announcements. So there are, big foreign guests, as we say, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, for example, the King of Jordan. Today, the Egyptian president is in town. But there's been talks and people looking at these airplanes and these different things that they're showing at the salon, but there hasn't been anything concrete out of it for the moment.
And in terms of the Russian president, then, is this all for show to the West, or is this also to show his personal ties to these leaders and kind of his influence in the region, in the Middle East, of course?
This salon happens every 2 years. So there was one in 2013. There are fewer attendants at this year's edition. But this is something that is done regularly, on a regular basis. The Russian space industry and the aviation industry is big. They have important clients in the West, but also in the Middle East and other regions. I mean, part of it is to show that Russia is still a big player, and President Vladimir Putin said that as well yesterday. But at the same time, this is something that is important for their aviation and space industry.
Gabrielle, I want to add to the conversation Tzvi Magen, the former ambassador to Russia and the current INSS senior research fellow. Ambassador Magen, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to pose to you the same question of Russia's showcase of its influence in the region through these meetings. Of course, it is a biennial meeting, but still, nevertheless, it has a lot of significance, at least in Western eyes.
Good morning. Speaking about the show is a regular, ordinary show, max this time 0:15, and it's not intended in a specific direction. It's a Russian stage to show their might and their possibilities and their activity. And this time, coincidentally, they used this specific show for some another show. Mm-hmm. So they invited, of course, the President Sisi and the King of Jordan and to the show, but they use it for meetings with Putin, as I said, as a show. Practically speaking, this is Sisi's third visit to Russia after his becoming president of mm-hmm. Egypt, and they have a lot of things to discuss. It's not connected to the show. Just use the opportunity for it. And they're speaking about arms deals of buying Russian weapons and Russian nuclear reactors. And the question is not why specific Russian tools or weapons, but why principally Russian. And the answer is very, very simple. It's kind of a competition between Russia and the United States, and in that specific point, Egypt has his own problems with the United States, and he is trying to buy his freedom, let's call it, from the dependence of the United States with Russia. The same situation we have with Jordan, because Jordan, as well as other Sunni countries, specifically Saudi Arabia is also involved in these conversations, are against the nuclear deal. And they are trying to show that they are on the other side of the hill.
Right. Ambassador,
Right.
Ambassador Magen, thank you for joining us. Eran, I want to place the question also to you. We know Russia's interest. We've heard extensively now, but Middle Eastern leaders, and specifically the ones that we're seeing in Moscow today, also have very vested interest in showing their support to Russia.
Even more than that, exactly. As you've just mentioned, it's not only a signal, or it's not only a message from Putin to the West, it's a message from Egypt, from its allies in the Middle East, the Sunni allies of Egypt in the Middle East, a message to the United States, to the Obama administration, to the fact that they abandoned them. We are now witnessing the absence of the American player in the region. And this is why it is so significant for all the players to try and go to Russia or to other elements and ask for help. Especially, and this is what's so significant here, the fact just look at the timing. Only a few weeks after the nuclear agreement with Iran. This is a message also to the Iranians, because the Arabs, on the one hand, they are supporting and they're welcoming the agreement with the Iranians, but on the other hand, they're very afraid of what's going on. And they need the weapons, they need the shield, and they need the support of the Russians, because they know that they are the ones which are capable to help them. Because the double standard game that the Russians are playing, on the one hand, they're giving support, they're giving, as you said, the S-300 missile defense system.
Selling to Iran.
Selling it to Iran this week, and at the same time, the Arabs are coming and saying, we need the same thing, not because of others, because of the Iranians. This is the thing. Another important element, and which also should be emphasized, Syria. All the Arab players, all the Arab leaders who are now in Russia are seeking to find, are trying to answer the question, will Russia be the one to put an end to the crisis in Syria? The Russians are making lots of efforts in the last few weeks to put an end to the war in Syria, and they are.
But this is also because of a vacuum of any kind of Western intervention in Syria.
Of course, but there is a deal here, because with all due respect, we have a very big army in Egypt, but they don't have the money. They don't have the cash. The money is coming from Saudi Arabia. So it's not. We will see President Sisi meeting President Putin today and shaking hands. But the money, the cash, is coming from Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is sending the message to Russia: if you play a bigger part in the game of putting an end to the war in Syria, we will give you the money for all the defense systems that you'll give us.
But on the other side, of course, the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad just spoke yesterday to Al-Manar and said, "I'm confident that Putin has my back," so to speak. He's confident that Iran and Russia are both still allies of his, and he's not going anywhere. So he's not part of the solution, perhaps, or
this is how should I say it? This is what he says.
Yeah,
this is what he says. What I'm hearing is that the Russians are not aiming to put an end to the Syrian regime. They are talking about replacing people or having new names in the Syrian regime. Maybe Bashar al-Assad will eventually have to pay the price, but the regime will not be changed. This is the deal that everybody is talking about right now when it comes to the relations between Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. Don't do anything. Don't harm the regime in Syria, because it's the only way to put. It's the only one. They are the only ones to fight and to confront ISIS. But you can do something about Bashar al-Assad because nobody likes him.
Well, to say the least in that region. Gabrielle, I want to go to this question also to you. Putin's involvement in the Syrian crisis, is it due also in your eyes and from Moscow due to a lack of Western intervention, or is there also other interest for Putin personally and Russia's interest in the region as a whole?
Putin likes to be seen as a peacemaker, as someone who can solve a situation where their other big players are absent or haven't been as proactive as maybe some people think they should have been. So Putin really cherishes that role. But Russia's in a situation where it has lots of interests to balance right now. We've seen in the past weeks the foreign minister Sergei Lavrov meeting with his Iranian, Saudi counterparts, members of the Syrian opposition tolerated by the Assad regime. So you've had this sort of diplomatic parade in Moscow of all these players involved in the region, and because Russia is one of the few remaining allies of that regime, the question is how strong is their support for that regime? Are they looking for a change? Are they not? Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, said that Russia respects the elected president of the country, but he doesn't necessarily name Assad. And some people here said, including the head of the Syria's National Coalition, the opposition group, said that Russia's not clinging on to Assad. So there's lots of elements going on right here, but we felt in the last week that there's some change going on that end.
Gabriel, thank you for joining us this morning. Eran, I want to use you also as an Israeli journalist and the view from Jerusalem. Netanyahu has said time and again that this Iranian nuclear deal will spark an arms race. What we're seeing in Moscow and what you know from the Middle East, is this true, or is this more rhetoric just to kind of counter President Obama?
Well, when it comes to the nuclear threat, it's not as close as the main threat right now, which we're now witnessing. The fact is that the Iranians are very strong in the region. They are filling up the vacuum which was created after the Arab Spring, after the collapse of the Arab Spring, and we are witnessing a very strong activity by the Iranians in Syria, and Iraq, in Lebanon. Look what's going on in Lebanon in the last 3 days. It's all Hezbollah-led. The same thing in the Gulf
the
states.
Sting campaign.
Yeah, yes. Well, Hezbollah is using it, but it's not. When we talk about Hezbollah, it's Iran.
Right.
The same thing. Look what's going on in Yemen and some of the Gulf states. Look the last occasions in Bahrain and Kuwait. What I'm saying is, and the Israeli government is saying, is once the Iranians have enough cash, enough money to use or to give more support to their allies in these places, which they have conquered. They are conquering Syria. They are conquering the northern part of some places in Iraq. Once they do so, Iran will be capable of threatening other countries or other elements, not only in this region, not only in the Middle East. This is what Israel is saying.
And of course, with under the auspices of the Russian president as well.
Of course.
Another superpower. Eran Zingal, Israel radio correspondent, thank you for joining us this morning. And now we get to say good morning to Almi Kaufman, who joined us daily to discuss the news we've missed while scanning the headlines, or the ones deemed worthy enough to print.
Yes, worthy to print. Let's start with Donald Trump. It's always good to start your morning with Donald Trump.
You know, we went 17 minutes without speaking about Donald Trump.
I know, it's a really long stretch there.
Yeah.
Too long. Let's get to this quickly. He started attacking Megyn Kelly again. Megyn Kelly's the Fox News anchor who hosted the debate, the first Republican debate. She had some tough questions for Trump, and then he said that she was in a bad mood because of her apparently menstruation, because she was. He said some really horrific stuff. He attacked her on Twitter.
Horrible, yeah.
She went on vacation a week afterwards, and now he is attacking her again after she came back. We have a report.
Let's take a look.
He's battling 16 challengers, but tonight, Donald Trump's new fight is with Fox News.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
Trump possibly still sore from that question. And when Megyn Kelly returned from vacation yesterday...
Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone.
Trump firing off a series of late-night tweets. Megyn Kelly must have had a terrible vacation. She is really off her game. And I like the Kelly File much better without Megyn Kelly. The Republican frontrunner also retweeted someone else's comment, calling the anchor a bimbo. Today, Fox News chairman Roger Ailes calling Trump's surprise and unprovoked attack as unacceptable as it is disturbing. Ailes demanding an apology.
It's a very small element in my life, Megyn Kelly. I don't care about Megyn Kelly, but no, I would not apologize. She should probably apologize to me, but I just don't care.
In Iowa tonight, Trump clashing with one of the country's most influential Hispanic journalists, Jorge Ramos, anchor for Univision and Fusion, a network co-owned by our parent company, Disney. This is what happened when Ramos pressed Trump on immigration.
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision.
security guards then escorting Ramos away. Ramos was later allowed back in, and he asked Trump about the candidate's proposed wall on the Mexican border.
Very easy. I'm a builder. That's easy. I build buildings that are 94. Can I tell you what's more complicated? What's more complicated is building a building that's 95 stories tall. Okay?
Here in Iowa, for voters like Mary Lavone Horton, who made her own Trump T-shirt, his talk is striking a chord.
I believe he tells the truth, and he says it like it is.
Who would you rather have negotiating against China, against Iran? What a deal that is, okay? You talk about incompetent people. Against anybody, Jeb Bush, Hillary Clinton, or Trump? I think so. I think so. You believe me.
Some Republican leaders still fear that Donald Trump may launch an independent bid to become president. But today, South Carolina Republicans are trying to force his hand, saying that anyone that wants to be on the primary ballot has to promise to support the Republican nominee at the end of the race. We'll see if Donald Trump will sign that pledge. Tom Yamas, ABC News, Dubuque, Iowa.
Wow.
Wow.
Still
Wow.
leading the polls, by the way, by a very large margin.
And it seems like every, incident that happens, it just makes him like skyrocket.
Makes even more popular.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And even when he was, when the woman said why she's supporting Trump, it's such a very candid answer. I support him because he's so honest. And,
right. They love that. They love that. But those images with Jorge Ramos are really amazing because, Jorge Ramos, he's not just any reporter for Univision. Univision is a huge station. It's the largest Hispanic station in America. He is almost like you can call him a Dan Rather or a Tom Brokaw of the Hispanic.
He's a celebrity.
He's a huge. And seeing bodyguards push him out of a Trump conference, a press conference, it's amazing. And, a recent poll just showed that Trump has a negative 51 net favorability rating among Hispanics. This is a problem for the Republican Party in a whole.
Yeah.
And Trump is not helping. But let's stay with American politics very quickly. On the Democrat side, there's a report that Biden has gotten President Obama's blessing if he actually decides to run for president. As we know, he met over the weekend with Elizabeth Warren, the darling of the progressive camp. And now apparently he met also with Obama, who kind of gave him a green light to go. In a press conference that Josh Earnest, the White House press spokesman, said that Obama has called making Biden his vice president the smartest decision that he has ever made in politics. And people are really seeing this as not only a green light, but almost an endorsement.
Right,
for him to run.
And the reason it's so big is because he's not endorsing Clinton, who is his former Secretary of State.
He has not said anything yet about Clinton that is this strong as he is about Biden, who has yet to decide. So this is pretty amazing stuff. Everybody's talking about Biden. I think he really smells blood when it comes to Clinton and the whole email scandal, which is really harming her.
And the Biden-Warren run would kind of like corner off all the vacuums in the Democratic Party.
Oh, you're saying that Warren might be on the ticket?
That's what I think.
That would be a ticket that would be really interesting. Biden and Warren, that would be a very strong ticket.
Because he goes to the main part of the Democratic Party. She kind of gets to the fringes, the Bernie Sanders people together, and they're going to be a ticking
bomb. A lot of people that are disappointed that she didn't run for president might be very happy that she'd be vice president. So
I'll put my money on it.
Let's go to China. Markets have been open for about 5 or 6 hours now. A huge seesaw. It's been up and down, red and green. This is already after the stocks are falling about 16% this week. China's central bank cut its lending rate yesterday by 0.25 percentage points to 4.6%. This has not brought any calm to the markets whatsoever. So it looks like it's very turbulent there. And yesterday, the markets in Europe and the West also reacted. The Dow Jones went down 1.3%. That's the 6th consecutive day of falls. The FTSE, though, from London was up 3%. And in France and Germany, the markets both gained more than 4%.
And people are very, very weary of calling it a 2008 financial crisis all over again. We heard yesterday analysts here calling it a hiccup. And
yeah, you're right. People seem to be a bit more calm about this one, right? But I don't know if we've seen.
I keep on asking, is it 2008? And no one wants to verify.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that bad yet.
Not yet.
Let's hope not.
Hope not.
Let's go to Lebanon, which you just mentioned, by the way. Iran Zinger here just mentioned before. There was an emergency cabinet meeting yesterday to deal with the whole You Stink campaign. That's what they're calling it. Hashtag You Stink campaign. Cabinet failed to solve the problem. They came with a set of bids for new garbage collection contracts, but Hezbollah members in the meeting called these bids extravagantly high and a farce, and they walked out of the meeting.
Well, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, Hezbollah some see it as the actually most strongest political party right now in Lebanon, and when they leave this cabinet meeting, it's really showing them a lot of strength, and they're getting behind the You Stink campaign. Now, a lot of people are saying this is actually turning into Hezbollah kind of offensive against the government. And also there were some interesting things. They put up a wall that looked very much like the separation wall here in Israel. They put up a wall between protesters and the Prime Minister's office, and people drew a lot of graffiti around it, and the Prime Minister himself didn't like it. The wall was taken down.
Look at that graffiti.
Yeah, there's a picture from the New York Times there. Wall was immediately taken down. After 24 hours that it was up, that wall is no longer there.
A lot of art for 24 hours.
Right. We have some pictures coming from Syria and Palmyra. We talked about them blowing up the
2,000-year-old
temple. Now we have ISIS is putting out some pictures on social media. We can see just a few of them. That one is a plume of smoke coming from them. Here are these guys that are laying the explosives, these barrels of explosives, and there you see the wires to those ancient pillars there before they're going to be blown up.
They're doing anything to show the extent of how far they'll go.
Propaganda, definitely propaganda. Speaking of ISIS, there was a UN Security Council meeting spotlighting violence and discrimination against lesbians, gays, and bisexuals and transgender people. It's the first time that there's ever been a meeting like this, and there's some victims who came to testify in front of these people, saying that 30 people so far have been killed by ISIS for sodomy. There was a man there, we can see him right there on the left, Subi Nahas. He's a gay refugee from Syria and the city of Idlib. He said that President Bashar's Assad government launched a campaign accusing all dissidents of being homosexuals when the uprising started in 2011. So it's not only ISIS that was doing it. Now, while this meeting was happening, by the way, there were reports that were coming out of Iraq from Mosul saying that ISIS threw 9 gay men off a tall building in Mosul. So we're seeing that this is also something that's happening.
And it's still in the fringes of the headlines. It's not like the big...
nobody's really talking about it.
People are talking about beheading and so forth, which is horrible in its own...
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. The migrant crisis, the UNHCR, which deals with refugees around the world, says that up to 3,000 refugees and migrants are expected every day in Macedonia.
Wow.
As I told you yesterday, we're going to see like this train of them hopping from country to country. Now there are reports that they are already in Hungary. They passed from Macedonia into Serbia. About 300 and 400 a day or something are getting into these countries, and now they're in Hungary. They're trying to get to Hungary before Hungary apparently is trying to build its own wall and large fence. So they're in a rush to get to Hungary so they can disperse into other countries such as Germany and France and Sweden. Germany and France are taking so far about 45% of all these refugees that are arriving into the European Union.
Yeah, Germany. I was just there, and they themselves don't know how to deal with it.
They don't know how to deal with it.
But they are accepting more and more every day.
They're accepting more and more. They have a lot of complaints to countries like England and France, mainly England. They say they're not pulling their weight, as they say. We're taking most of them in Sweden, which is basically a small country, is taking a lot more, proportionately than most countries. This is like coming out of a movie. A Spanish woman with no flying experience crash lands a plane after her husband pilot died while in the air.
Oh.
For 90 minutes, the air traffic controllers told her how to fly this plane.
Yeah.
She didn't know what to do, and traffic controllers told her to bring it down, and she managed to bring it down.
She survived?
She survived. She's mildly injured, but
it's a sad story that ended okay.
Right, ended okay.
Ami Kaufman, you'll be back with more web headlines. Coming up next, though, we'll talk about Israel releasing 1,200 African asylum seekers from the Hulot detention center, but most of them don't even know where they will be spending the next few nights. We'll be back. Welcome back to I-24 News Morning Edition. We're going now to our next topic. Some 600 asylum seekers from Africa were released from the Hulot detention center in southern Israel yesterday, following a Supreme Court ruling from earlier this month. The court ordered that migrants who enter the country illegally cannot be held in custody for over 12 months. Another 600 migrants are due to be released today. Those freed were not, though, met with open arms. Under the terms of their release, they are banned from living and working in Tel Aviv, Israel's main business hub, and in the southern resort city of Eilat. According to human rights activists, some 20 migrants were already arrested upon entering the city. Elsewhere, the mayor of the desert town of Arad wrote a post on Facebook for residents to come out and prevent any incoming migrants to enter the city. Roughly 47,000 migrants currently reside now all over Israel, most of who fled from Sudan and Eritrea and seek asylum in Israel. We're joined now in studio by the asylum seeker from Darfur, Mutassim Ali. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed.
You were also recently freed from Khulot?
Right.
How long ago?
A month and a half ago.
Okay, we'll get to that, but let's take first a look at the next report and we'll continue our discussion from there.
Once again, he is free. After having been incarcerated for the past 18 months in this detention center in the middle of the Negev desert, Musa has finally been released. He had arrived in Israel in 2008, fleeing Sudan and the war in Darfur.
It's sad because, I guess I'm not feeling, I'm really sad. I don't have that free because I don't know where I'm going right now.
Just like Musa, another 1,000 refugees benefited from the court decision stating that immigrants cannot be detained in Khulot for more than 1 year. Migrants from Africa that are seeking asylum in Israel are forbidden to enter both Tel Aviv and Eilat, a restriction issued by the Ministry of the Interior and written in capital letters on the identification documents that each migrant receives once freed.
But this is not my problem. This is the problem for the government. When we release from here, they'll send us where? Because if you want to send me somewhere, tell me where I'm going.
Somewhere indeed, but where? Neither in Tel Aviv nor in Eilat. In fact, each migrant freed as part of the court decision, but who was arrested in Eilat or Tel Aviv, is to be sent directly to Suharonim, a traditional prison located right in front of the Khulot detention center. According to this human rights activist, this decision only reinforces the government's strategy.
It is a perfectly well-thought decision that writes itself in the continuity of what is happening in Khulot. Israel has but one goal in this matter, to make the migrants leave Israel voluntarily by making their lives miserable.
A rather fruitful political agenda. According to the Ministry of the Interior, 8,335 asylum seekers have left Israel over the past 2 years. A real shortfall for Israel, if we believe this hotel employee who came from Khulot looking for work.
I'm interviewing potential employees for our hotels in the Dead Sea area. We are in constant need of employees to improve the quality of our services. We only hire the best.
These past years, 47,000 migrants looking for a job but mostly seeking asylum have managed to enter Israel illegally, crossing the Egyptian border.
Yeah, actually I'm released, but I don't know which kind of release. Yeah, you release me. I believe you are release me, I'm going to somewhere, but I'm not going to where I need to go. It's now I'm not feeling happy because when I be happy, I'm gonna be in my country and then I be free. Yeah, I have a lot of, but
I am very happy that some of them finally got to leave this place. But I know that a lot of others have already received a summons and have until the end of the month to show up at the detention center.
Whether they came from Sudan, Eritrea, or Congo, almost all of them are seeking refugee status. But Israel only grants the status to 1% of them. Of all the Western countries, Israel has the lowest rate of granting asylum.
We're joined now over the phone by asylum seeker Aman Bayan. You're from Eritrea. You were released yesterday. Good morning, Aman.
Good morning.
Also joining us is Yonatan Yakubovich from the Institute for Migration Policy in Israel. You're joining us from Jerusalem. Good morning, Yonatan.
Good morning.
Aman, I want to start with you. You were released yesterday. Where did you spend the night?
I spent the night with a friend in Tel Aviv, but I have to look for a job outside Tel Aviv and I have to live outside of Tel Aviv.
Where are you going to look, and what do you think the next few days will look like for you?
I have nowhere to go. I don't know where to go. I don't know where I will have to work, but I'll look for it.
Yonatan, I want to go to you. The Supreme Court decision yesterday. How do you see it from the Institute Migration Policy?
Well, we see it as very problematic because people have to understand that the anti-infiltration law was Israel's main tool in order to ensure that people will not continue coming into Israel, and it has brought over 9,000 people to leave Israel in the last 3 years. And the cancellation of that law leaves Israel without any tools to deal with this phenomenon of illegal migration. And we can see just in the last week that the number of people who have entered Israel through the southern border is larger than all the people that have entered in all of 2014. So we're seeing a rise in people who are re-entering Israel, and that is a very big problem.
Mutassim, how do you see the Supreme Court decision? Of course, the court ruled based on the legal implications that you cannot keep a person in custody for over 12 months. At the same time, there's no solution.
Right. In a way, I totally respect the Supreme Court decision and believing in the Israeli judiciary system. However, it didn't fix the problem because still thousands of people will be sent to Holod. We were saying Holod is a legal place because if we are taking few facts into consideration, we're speaking of two major groups, Sudanese and Eritreans. And the fact that Israel cannot deport us to our countries of origin, knowing that there are serious problems from where we fled, I think Holod is not the solution for asylum seekers in Israel. Israel lacks a proper immigration policy. I've been hearing Jonathan Yakovlevich for quite long. I just don't want to debate and confront him. But immigration policy is not about opening a Facebook page and sharing links which or maybe articles in line with your opinion. This is an international phenomenon. Israel is a Geneva Convention, senator of the Geneva Convention. It's strange that Israel didn't recognize even among this group only 4 people, just only 4 people as refugees in this country. Right. How logical it is. I mean, at the end of the day, let's say if they detain us for 20 months, even more, what will happen after that? Then they will have to release people from Holod, meaning Holod is not the solution. They need to look for a proper policy to and check the individual claims, and then we'll see what will happen next.
Jonathan, your reaction? Of course, it's not the first time that the argument has been that Israel simply doesn't have a policy with these migrants, and thus it's going to always be, almost, ad hoc kind of solutions, quote unquote.
Well, I think it's amusing that, and I think it's out of line also that Mr. Mutassim, which is an illegal migrant, will preach us Israelis what our migration policy should be. And I think that he's very out of line there. But I'll go back to your question. Israel had a policy, and it has a policy, and it's been very effective. But that policy has been canceled through the courts for the 3rd time. The policy, Israel is the only country in the world except for Australia that has been able to stop illegal migration, and it's the only country that has been able to bring people to leave. Also, we're the only country except for Australia that has agreements with 3rd countries for resettlement. Now, there are things that need to be fixed. Asylum requests should have been checked on time, and they should be checked promptly now.
But exactly, the migrants that are already here, the migrants that are already here that don't have a status, some, to refer to them simply as migrants, there's some that are asylum seekers, there are some that are looking for work.
They're a minority out of the 50,000 people that are here.
But we don't know that because nobody's checked.
Only 6,000 have submitted asylum requests. Some of them are refugees, some of them are not. The majority have not even submitted refugee requests, even though Israel has allowed them to submit those asylum requests for the last 2.5 years. So the majority aren't even asylum seekers. Among the asylum seekers, a certain percentage are refugees, and we hope the country decides promptly on their requests. But Israel does have a policy. It's not perfect. No country has a perfect policy, and most countries don't deal with this issue very well. The fact that Mutassim is allowed to walk around and preach us about our policy, I think, is out of line, and I don't think it does a service for the migrants. I think most of Israeli society doesn't accept it well, and I think it hurts most of the migrants, most of the real refugees that would be allowed to stay in Israel, but Israel does have a policy, and we need to continue with that. It has proven extremely useful.
Yonatan, I'm going to let Muhtasim answer quickly.
Yeah, he can say whatever he wants, and I believe and I know for certain, and everyone can understand that there is no immigration policy in the country. The policy of so-called voluntary deportation, this is not immigration policy. To force thousands of people to go to where they've yes, to where their fate will, is a death and to be beheaded by ISIS or to be killed in Darfur in South Sudan. This is not an immigration policy. To send people by Israeli travel documents or sometimes by fake travel documents to Uganda or Rwanda, this is not immigration policy. He is saying that some of asylum seekers or some of migrants and refugees, who are they? 4 people and that's it? Who are the refugees? For example, myself, until today, there is no any decision about my asylum claim. They could reject it. It's fine, but at least they
make
need to make a decision about it. That's not happening in this in the country. Once again, Sudanese and Eritreans all over the world, only in this country are not being recognized as refugees. Most of the time, Eritreans are, in worst case scenario, if they're not recognized as refugees, there is something called complementary protection.
Right.
Provided to them. Sudanese, when we, as Darfurians or some Noble Mountains or Balloon Islands, if we arrive to some other world, will not ask us what happened to you there.
Yeah.
The question would be, it's about to identify if we're really coming from Darfur, Noble Mountains, or Balloon Islands.
You're saying we need to make a decision personally and individually, and that will be the start of a policy.
Exactly.
Muhtasim Ali, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Joining us now in studio is I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev. You're here to give us some updates from the world leaders. As
Probably just one. I think we don't have enough time. So I don't know who hasn't noticed, is Trump and Bush are continuing their fight and their standoff on Instagram and on YouTube. The past week, Trump has been attacking Bush everywhere, but he went really low on Instagram. Let's see the following video.
Let's take a look.
Would you like to see him run?
No, I really don't. I think it's a great country. There are a lot of great families. There are other people out there that are very qualified, and we've had enough Bushes.
Wow.
That hurts. That hurts.
Stings.
So this is a 2013 clip of the former First Lady. Since then, she actually has changed her mind.
Yeah.
But Trump has been attacking Bush specifically. I want to note this, that he has low energy, which, of course, compared to Trump is not that difficult. Yeah. But let's see Bush's response and see. That kind of fits the situation. It's kind of sufficient description. Let's see Bush's reaction.
Okay. We don't have it, but we're gonna try to get it in a second. You know, what's interesting is that Trump uses, the things that really hurt the most the Bushes. Even though Bush was, considered to be the front runner of the Republican Party, he's no longer, due to his lack of charisma, maybe.
Well, of course, we should say that this is just the beginning of the race, and probably things will be changing if we look at the 2012 results at this point in the primary race of the Republicans. Other candidates, not Mitt Romney, were on the lead, and Mitt Romney was only 4th or 5th in the polls. So. Yes, but this is a very, they are opposite. They are very different people. And can we see the clip? Do we have that clip?
We're going to try to get it. What else do you have?
It's also Trump, another issue with Trump. Trump this week was on the cover of Time magazine, but not the cover, which drew the most attention. Let's see the 2 photos first that he posted on Instagram.
Yes. Oh.
So that is the photo that the Donald has landed. Yeah. That is the photo that created the biggest uproar or attention. This is an eagle, Uncle Sam. He's 27 years old. He was flew in specifically for the 25th floor office of Donald Trump in Midtown, New York. This is the cover.
Right.
He also posted a video, if we can see that video.
I'm doing this for the cover of Time magazine. I love Time magazine. What you will do for a cover, this bird is seriously dangerous but beautiful.
What he'll do for a cover, what he'll do for a lot of things.
Well, the photographer just had a really interesting explanation. He said that Trump is very difficult to photograph, and he said if you ask him to look up a bit, he says no or just doesn't do it. So he brought the eagle so he would look up and be with his face to the camera.
Very nice. Tal Shalev, thank you for joining us. Coming up next, the Ramat Gan Safari welcomes its newest resident, a baby white rhino. We'll be there. Welcome back to I-24 News Morning Edition. I'm Yael Wisner-Levy, and now to the happier part of the show. Keren Peles, a 6-year-old white rhino, gave birth to a female calf at the Ramat Gan Safari here in Israel earlier this week. The newborn, who stood up and began suckling almost immediately, is doing very well. Thank you for asking. The safari issued a statement that the newborn's father, the 35-year-old Atari, seemed very happy and that he and his not-so-tiny daughter took to each other immediately. We have the pleasure now of going live to the safari in Ramat Gan, where I-24 News correspondent Lauren Izo is standing by. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Yael. So we are very excited to be here at the Ramat Gan Safari today.
Yeah, making new friends early on in the morning?
I'm trying to make new friends. They're not getting too close. I don't know if you can see them, the rhinos over there behind me, but we're trying to get as close as we can.
And what you've met Keren Peles, which for our non-Israeli viewers will just note that she's a famous Israeli singer, and that she has a rhino named after her, which I think there is no greater honor in this world than having a rhino named after you. How is the mother doing?
I wish I had a rhino named after me. So the rhinos they look like they're doing really great. I'm actually now joined by Sophie Ben David, who works at the Israel Wildlife Hospital and is a zookeeper here at the safari. Hi, Sophie. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good morning.
So if you could tell us a little bit about, the process of how you guys discovered that Keren Peles was actually in labor and the steps that you took to make the birth as easy as possible for her.
So Monday afternoon, they saw that she had given birth in the open area. The baby was doing well. He even started to walk around. It's a baby girl. And she was walking around, eating. Now, because it's an open area and it's her first calf, the mother seems a bit stressed, so they decided to put her in this enclosure so she can bond with her daughter, introduce her to the new area, to the new smells, the new sounds, and not be stressed out about all the other animals.
Now, I understand that this particular type of rhino is quite rare and it's actually endangered. So can you just explain a little bit about how exciting it is to have an event like this of a new baby rhino from this species?
It's really exciting. There's a breeding program that the safari takes part in. Tashi, the baby, is the 12th rhino that we have here. Keren Peles, the mother, was actually brought in from Pretoria in order to introduce a new bloodline so that they could have new babies, new fresh DNA. And yeah, so it's very exciting. We're very happy to have her. We hope she gets a name soon.
Now, just as you're saying right now about the name, which is a very exciting thing over here, we have a rhino called Rihanna and Keren Peles named after the Israeli singer. So can you tell us a bit about the naming process and when we expect a new name for this baby rhino?
Well, she'll be named with a K after her mother, just like the safari tradition is. I'm not sure when she'll be named, but the public will be asked to give lots of ideas, and from there, the team will choose a name.
So it looks like we have a new Kardashian family in the making, all with Ks.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Sophie, thank you so much for being with us.
Okay, have a good day.
So as you can see, it's very exciting to see the miracle of life happen here at the safari.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope to be here for many more births and see many more cute little baby rhinos.
Yeah, and Lauren, I hear that I heard your vote for name Kardashian is a very exclusive, special name. Thank you for putting that up. I can think of a new, more K names. I mean, no?
More K names? I don't know. I'm stuck with Kardashian right now.
Yeah,
That's all I can think about is Kim, Khloe, whatever they're called. They all have Ks.
We can name it after Kasich, after the Republican.
John Kasich, right? The Republican that's running for president.
He'll like
I can't
that.
think of any more off the top of my head. I'm just stuck with Kardashian. I'm sorry.
No.
Shouldn't have brought that up.
Lauren Izo, thank you there in the safari. Ami, you're here for some web headlines.
Web headlines, yeah. Let's see some viral videos that are going around. In Taiwan, in the capital, Taipei, a 12-year-old had a bit of a fumble. Now, it's just not any kind of fumble. He fumbled in a museum, and he fumbled over this little tiny fence, over this wire, and hit a painting that is worth, it's valued at $1.5 million. Let's see the footage of him. Here he is holding his drink, and boom! Damn.
Don't
right
bring
there.
drinks into the museum.
Apparently, it's he punched a hole into the painting the size of his fist, right through the painting. Now, The Guardian here says that the organizers are not going to ask the boy's family to pay for the restoration costs. It said that the exhibition organizer, whose name is Sun Chi Swan, said the boy was very nervous, but should not be blamed. And the painting, part of a private collection, was insured. So there's nothing to worry about that. But those are kind of cringe-worthy pictures. They're just watching that.
I feel equally bad also for the young boy. It's obvious he didn't mean it. It wasn't.
He just lost a little concentration there and kind of
children.
But you know what else? The Guardian here actually he says that this kid is joining a short list of what they call art fumblers. In 2006, a man tripped over his shoelace in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge in the UK and smashed three 300-year-old Chinese vases.
Right.
In 2010, a woman at the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art fell into a Picasso, causing a 15-centimeter tear. One of the more famous ones is a man named Steve Wynn. He's a big casino mogul, very rich man. He elbowed Picasso's 1932 masterpiece La Rêve.
No way.
But later on, he
paid for the restoration probably.
for himself, and he still managed to sell that painting in 2013 for a record sum of $155 million.
Wow. So maybe sometimes it's even better. You know, speaking of even better, yesterday in the Israel Museum, a young girl, a
12-year-old girl. There's a glass exhibition there, and she leaned on one of these vases, the stand that was holding these vases, and it fell and it broke.
Right.
And she apparently is feeling very badly about that. But she also will not be asked to pay the money.
The museum said that they even are happy about it because it makes them able to restore it even to better quality.
Better, yeah. Apparently, it already had some kind of crack in there, and now they'll be able to take care of this.
It's like reverse parenting. Good that you did that.
Yeah.
Do that again.
Do that again. Break that vase.
Yeah.
Going off to some celebrity news, I'm going to start off with something kind of sad. Sarah Silverman's mother, comedian Sarah Silverman's mother, her mother died last week on Wednesday. And the reason I bring this up, she was 73. She tweeted something yesterday, a kind of tribute to her mother. It's really, really touching. I'm going to read it to you and get your handkerchiefs out. Wednesday morning, my mom died. She was a know-it-all in overalls and 2 different colored socks. And defiantly, no bra. The woman who, when I was little, gave me detailed directions to a restaurant ladies' room, then secretly watched as I found my way to it on my own. The woman who went back to college at 42 and skinny dipped in ponds and told me never to protect myself from a broken heart because it was so very worth the pain to get to experience love.
That's a beautiful.
Isn't that a beautiful? Just one paragraph of just very emotional words.
And you feel like also you got to know Beth very quickly through that.
You're right. It's just what a shame.
I can picture the persona almost.
Yeah, you can picture their relationship as well. That they were very close, and a real shame at the age of 73.
Know-it-all in overalls and 2 different colored socks. That's great.
Yeah. Jon Stewart, as we know, left The Daily Show recently, but he's kind of finding I don't know if I call it a new job, but he's been hosting this world, this wrestling event in the summer, and on the last day of the event,
place I would think that he would go to, but
apparently he's a real fan of wrestling.
Oh, really?
It's like the fake wrestling. But anyway, we have footage of what happened on the last day, and I think we should see what happened to him.
We can declare with a moment, kind of like the moment you had last night.
It was my moment.
When you just
Tonight
ran out.
This is your moment.
And did what you felt you had to do.
I had to do it.
I understand that.
I appreciate that.
So I know you're going to understand this because right now, I'm just going to do what I got to do.
Oh, no! That's Jon Stewart. John Cena.
Let him down, John.
With an elbow to Jon Stewart. Down goes Stewart. Stewart asked for it. John Cena just gave Jon Stewart the AA. Hey, John.
Wow.
so scary.
Wow. I watched that thing like a gazillion times.
To happen.
You saw it coming?
I mean, you're standing that close to
a wrestler, John Cena, and he just picked him up and threw him.
Almost.
Yeah, what a bizarre way to see Jon Stewart.
I feel like, though, Jon Stewart knew it was going to happen. You don't think so?
I'm sure.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's very scripted, this whole thing.
Yeah, wrestling in general is
very scripted. Look at that picture. I just like looking at it again, and he really slammed him. He really slammed him. Look at that. You can see the thing bounce, his body bounce from the... That's pretty painful.
I'd be broken after that. Broken.
Yeah. I don't see. Now I don't know if he's faking it.
Yeah.
the pain or not.
We'll see it again afterwards. Yeah.
Photo bombing. I love George Clooney, and this is a picture. He was in Ibiza. Yeah, I love George Clooney.
Oh, okay.
He's a great actor. He was in Ibiza with Cindy Crawford and her husband for this. They co-founded this tequila company called Casamigos.
Oh, I didn't.
And they tried to take this romantic picture, and that is how you photobomb people.
Yeah.
That is how you do it. That is beautiful. That's Cindy Crawford's Instagram feed, and
nice.
I just like it.
I love it. Yeah, it looks beautiful, and George Clooney kind of makes it all the more natural.
Yeah.
No models and palm trees. There's also George Clooney.
And she looks great, doesn't she? I mean,
amazing.
She's in her 40s or almost 50s.
Yeah,
I don't know.
would say even 50s probably.
Yeah, supermodel. Mayim Bialik, who was the Big Bang Theory star,
and she was also way back when.
Did you know, by the way, that she also has a doctorate degree in neuroscience? I did not know that.
Yeah.
I just found that out. Okay.
That's her.
It's amazing. So she gave this interview to a show called Fox 411, and she thinks she's talking about how it is to be Jewish in Hollywood. She said, "I think in general it's never going to be trendy to be observant or religious in Hollywood circles." She said that she's been given a lot of flack for her conservative dress, the way she dresses in a town where, the emphasis is usually on showing as much as possible. She says, just because I have a body doesn't mean it needs to be on display.
Wow.
She's also talked about Israel very interestingly.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of negative attention for visiting Israel, and what's amazing, simply by going to Israel this summer and saying nothing more than I've gone to Israel, I got the same amount of hatred and threats and anti-Semitism for actually making a statement, trying to support people, whether I like it or not, are serving in an army. And that reveals the truth. She says, it really doesn't matter what I support or believe, the fact that I'm Jewish and go there is enough. That should be alarming to most people. So she's talking about a lot of anti-Semitism in the States and in Hollywood, and against her being, a religious, a conservative woman, and dressing the way she does.
And she comes to Israel quite a lot, and she has Israeli roots, I think, as well.
Yeah.
She speaks Hebrew.
She does? I did not know that.
Yeah, parts of,
But a neuroscientist, I find that amazing.
Yeah.
I find that really amazing.
She was a childhood actress when I was growing up,
really?
And yes, I followed her quite closely. Embarrassing to say, but yeah.
We mentioned the Kardashians recently, just before.
We're naming the rhinoceros the Kardashians.
Halloween is coming up pretty soon, I guess, in October. And there's actually, you remember the Caitlyn Jenner, the famous cover on Vanity Fair? There's now going to be a Halloween costume that you can buy online. We have a few pictures. Here it is.
Aww.
Call Me Caitlyn costume. There's actually a lot of outrage on the web about this. People are not finding it too funny. The website, how they're trying to say when they sell it in their ad, by the way, this is another costume that they're selling, the Bruce Jenner costume with the same sash, Call Me Caitlyn. They're saying you probably won't break any Twitter records when you wear this outfit like Caitlyn did, but you'll be sure to get a few laughs out of your friends and the other guests at the get-together. There's already a petition online for the company to remove these costumes, both of the costumes, and not sell them anymore.
Yeah, I would say it's a little too far.
Right?
I love dressing up as celebrities, but this is like it's not about dressing up as.
But I have a feeling a lot of people are going to buy it.
Yeah. Well, in a country that Trump does so well.
Not surprising,
the Caitlyn
right?
Jenner
That's a good point. That's a very good point. You're right.
The Caitlyn Jenner costume is going to go very viral.
And I guess it's not also surprising that people will be buried on the moon, as we can see from our next item from Jezebel.
Not enough room here on Earth.
Right. Lunar burials are a real thing that exists. There is a company that's called Elysium Space that for a small fee of about $10,000, which actually isn't that much more than a regular funeral.
I was about to say,
apparently a regular funeral costs about $7,000 in America. They will send you in a small object, your remains, onto the moon, what they call a soft landing onto the moon. They also, this company is interesting, they also offer two other types of memorials. One is called the Shooting Star Memorial, which will send capsules into low Earth orbit, allowing them to return to Earth as a shooting star.
Wow.
Or they call it the Milky Way Memorial, will send capsules in the opposite direction into deep space, never to see you again. All the way. That's, I guess, people you want to really get rid of.
I got it. And it's not that expensive. Interesting.
$10,000 and you'll be able to. There's already one person, a man called Steve Jenks, who bought the lunar burial for his mother.
Right.
And this is because
what did he decide to do? The Milky Way?
He's going to do the moon one, the lunar one. He's going to send her to the moon. And this is why, because every letter that she wrote to him, she signed in these words: no matter how lonely you feel and how far you are, always look at the moon and know I am with you. I love you to the moon and back.
There you go.
What a more fitting way. He's going to send his mom to the moon, literally.
Nice. Well, 10,000 again. It's not a big delta from how much you have to pay to be buried in regular.
Yeah, about $3,000. Just $3,000 you can go all the way to the moon.
There you go.
Right.
Have everyone come visit you there.
We have time for some more.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a video that's gone viral and people are making memes out of it. There's this kid who got an avocado as a gift, but let's see his reaction to how he gets when he gets the gift. Yeah, actually, that's not the video, but the original video shows that he just says thanks. He wasn't really happy. That typical
an
thanks.
Avocado.
Yeah.
I wonder what was behind the
why are parents giving their kids an avocado wrapped in?
It's a rarity today.
No, BuzzFeed did not give that information, but
and that would be like the first question I would ask.
Yeah, but flaw in reporting there.
It's a healthy, nutritious, educational gift.
Yeah, why not give it a gift every morning?
There
have
you
some
go.
avocado.
Wrapped. Very good. Ami Kaufman, thank you, of course, for joining us, and thank you for being with us today. We'll be here tomorrow. Next up are the headlines. You can watch us all the time on our website, i24news.tv. We'll be here tomorrow.